Priyanka, Hindu.
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलम् कर्म किं परम् कर्म तज्जडम् प्रीतिमहोदधौ पतनकारणम् फलं शाश्वतम् गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितम् नेच्छया कृतम् चित्तशोधकम् मुक्तिसाधकम्.
Great, thank you. So we've started verse 3. Does anyone want to recap or summarize or say your own understanding of Ishvara so far? Do you want to try to understand or to say what you've understood on Ishvara so far? Yes.
So, what I understand is like even if we just look at our own body, everything is getting power to do the action or just to live our daily life. And it is with our experience, we just know that it is there and we can't really see it or perceive it. We can just experience it, and that invisible power is Ishvara. And we relate it to just as something bigger than us.
Mhm. Correct. Right. Absolutely.
And I would say that Ishvara lives inside me. I at least have come to realize that, and sometimes I'm even able to talk to him whenever I feel so. Um, as I said, it's a power. There is something that is making things work. Weathers come on time, sun will rise, and I mean there has to be something that some power which is making everything work the way it should be. And I feel he's inside me also. So yeah, that's what I understood.
Excellent. Very good. Yes. So perfect. Because this is important for anybody else also who's attending class later on or listening to the recording or and if you want to just send a note on what you understand as Ishvara so far, that would be a great help for you to go further into what is being said, now going to be said further. Verse 3 has started with Ishwararpanam. So unless and until I am able to mature my thinking to my best understanding of Ishvara today, and it will be culminative. If it is in the right direction, you will realize as you keep growing your understanding with information of Vedanta also, it keeps on sharpening. That understanding goes on getting more stronger, verifiable, and you will start to appreciate it at very different levels as it keeps going. If your understanding initial is in the right direction. So that is absolutely correct. So whoever wants to, if you want a note, you can email, only email. And we'll go a little step now further to understand verse 3. It has 4 components. The verse has 4 quarters. Ishwar arpitam, nechaya kritam, chitta shodhakam, mukti sadhakam. The first line, Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam, is the essence of Karam Yoga. So whatever you understand or don't understand, have heard in the past, not heard, if it's new, Karam Yoga word, I think everybody must have understood, has heard at least. But what really is Karam Yoga? Ishwar Arpitam. So far we have seen Ishvara is that aspect which is definitely a governing aspect, connected to us as individuals in our capacities, in our perceptions, in the way we connect to the totality. That Ishvara has to be a presence, is not going to be a perception, but is absolutely doubtless, is not something you can just believe. If you're just going to accept it on passive faith, then this Karam Yoga doesn't become active in life. Why I said try and summarize Ishvara first is because that understanding of yours is going to be employed when it is done as Ishvara Arpanam. So if someone doesn't even have the understanding of Ishvara, then Ishvara Arpanam does not make much ground. You're not able to extract the best out of it. Ishvara Arpanam. What really is the word Ishvara? We saw it as in that cycle of yin and yang, karam or uska phal. So Ishvara in general, if you have to get specific about the word, Ishvara in general, we have said is the controlling factor. The word comes, it's a Sanskrit word. And why am I pointing that it's better to have clarity on this is because the word is in English translated as God. And that is something that is not very articulate. God is just a matter of faith. Ishvara is an understanding. It's a growth of understanding. It's an expansion of one's knowledge. It's an expansion of appreciation of truth. It's actually connecting to the truth. God is, you have to start by saying, I have faith or not. Ishvara is not a faith or not. वो बाद में आता है. In the sense, I have to see what I understand as Ishvara first. When I understand, then automatically there is some naman karna. अपने आप हो जाता है. That, automatically a bhav is born. Automatically there is an eruption of an attitude. When there is a recognition of truth, there will be a simultaneous appreciation and eruption of an attitude. That can only happen if there is a correct understanding of Ishvara. Word Ishvara, which is translated as God, is actually in Sanskrit, all our words are not, they're not like proper nouns. The word is descriptive. The word is indicative. The word conveys. What it conveys is called Ishvara. What does it convey? Made up of 2 words. 2 have been combined. Isha plus there is a suffix varach. Isha is the dhatu all words come from basic roots in Sanskrit. Those roots convey a sense of a meaning. Each meaning that it conveys is to rule, to command, to possess power. Each root in itself conveys rule, to command, to possess power. And when you add the suffix varach, the cha-kar is actually disappears. Var is left. Vara. Ish plus vara becomes Ishvara. And what does varach suffix really convey? Wherever you want to convey agent having such a habit, etc. When that conveying factor is, you're conveying an agent. Agent means it's like if you're a karta, you're an agent of an action. So agent having such a habit, nature of, with verbs like stha. If you understand the word stha, means firm, standing. If you add vara to it, what does the word become?
Sthavar and versus
Sthavar.
Jangam, right?
So what does a sthavar word mean?
Sthavar means something that will be. I don't exactly remember the words, but I do remember the opposites, Sthavar and Jangam. Jangam, I think, was Jad, and Sthavar was.
No, sthavar is stha
Someone
means
who's firm.
standing, firm. Tishtha, it is sthavara, means which is of the nature of immobility. Khada rehta hai. Tishtati, sthavara. Sthavara means anything that has a nature of immobility. By nature it stands, as is. Rehta hai, वैसे ही. What is it in nature that you find which just stands?
Mountain.
Means which is just there. Sorry?
Mountain.
Mountain. Absolutely.
Trees.
Absolutely. So you see, what is sthavara indicating? That which doesn't move. What is Ishvara indicating now? That which has the nature of ruling, commanding, possessing power. That which has a power is the agent. The one which has the power wields the power, commands. Isha. In Ishavasya, the first word is Ishavasya. Idagum Sarvam. The whole world is controlled by Isha, is Ishvara, controlled. That word Ishvara, automatically when you have the meaning, now what is just an ambiguous otherwise, is a force, is a power, pata nahi hai. But when you understand that the one which controls, supposing I say, who is the highest controlling power, who wields all power in the government of India? What will you say? Who has
Prime
all
Minister.
power? उससे भी
Prime
ऊपर.
Minister.
The president has power over the prime minister also. He's the one who has he's not limited under all the others. He can overpower any one of them because he is by right, he's the agent of holding all power. That which has all power is Ishvara, means he wields the power. Power is so Isha plus Vara will give us the cognition of, at least appreciation closer to saying what is Ishvara. Another word for Ishvara is Bhagavan. भगवान एंड ईश्वर में फर्क क्या है? अगर कुछ देखना है तो है नहीं, बिकॉज बट ब्रह्मन फर्स्ट एक्सप्रेशन से which is still not concretized, completely imperceptible, that which has complete power, controls everything, is Ishvara. more abstract, very, very subtle. You need a lot of inner growth and even intellectual, and along with it, a little maturity emotionally also, to be able to come to the point of understanding Ishvara. God is an easy way to bypass the knowledge. Ishvara is touching the pinnacle, because Ishvara is Brahman will become easier. But coming back to the point, Ishvara, another term is Bhagavan. Again, two words. Bhagavan. Van is again a suffix. Dhan, what is dhan? Wealth. Dhanavan is who
Wealthy.
has
The one who
wealth.
has dhan.
Wealthy.
Who has dhan.
Correct. The one who has wealth is Dhanavan. So that Van suffix has added itself to Dhana, is now indicating to the one who has it, who possesses it. One who possesses Bhaga. Bhaga is a group of 6 qualities, attributes. Those 6 attributes, in this verse, this is from Vishnu Puran. I forgot to put the reference point. verse. Bhaga is the group of 6 qualities, attributes. What are they? Aishwarasya. Isha word itself is Aishwarya, lordship. Lordship means the one who is the ultimate lord, controller. Aishwarasya samagrasya, in full measure. Can we say president is actually Aishwarya? Does he have full power? For Indian constitution, but does he have full power? There will be some other power over him. Some diplomatic force will work on him. Aishwarasya samagrasya. There is no other power above it. Samagra means in full measure. There is nothing above it. Means और कोई force उसके ऊपर है नहीं. वीर्यस्य samagrasya. He's got full strength, capacity, valor, shakti. Samagra virya. To do what? To create, to sustain, to resolve. At one effortless move, in a split second of a human experience, there can be a complete destruction of life on earth. Conceive that power. It's possible. In spite of the best human effort, we are still struggling to understand where life has emerged. Where has life come from? This, who has the full power, capacity, has complete strength to create, to sustain, to resolve, for any change. A complete full measure of fame, well known. It's not hidden, in other words. It's not known only to some. It's known to everyone. Accepted or not, recognized or not is besides the point. But is known, is knowable. Yashaha, Shriyaha, Samagra Shriyaha. That Samagra goes with all of them. In full measure is Shri. Shri means wealth. Prosperity, wealth, splendor, effulgence. In full measure, the one who has Shri, wealth. Jnana, in full measure, complete knowledge, not broken, not parts, complete knowledge. Vairagya, complete vairagya. in full measure. Vairagyayah cha eva shannam 6 bhaga iti anga. The one who has Van Dhanavan Bhagavan. The one who has these 6 in full measure is a Bhagavan. If you want wealth at any point, who do you go to? Who will you ask?
Lakshmi
The one who
ji.
has. The one who has. Exactly. See how from there Lakshmi ji will come. The Gyan aspect, Saraswati will come. The destructive aspect, you can have, because this is in full measure. Like I said, where will you draw your water from in Ganges doesn't matter. The Ganges is the flow. You can draw as many pipes out of there, and each pipe can be distinct, but the source will be the same. So if you want wealth in लौकिक वर्ल्ड, दुनिया में आप जाओगे, जिसके पास धन है उसी से तो धन मांगोगे. अगर उसके पास है ही नहीं तो कैसे मांगोगे? In the same way, that aspect of Ishvara, which is personified as the powerful, say, wealth, along with the capacity, Maya Shakti, say over here, will be Lakshmi. Strength will be devotion. Strength will be Hanuman, etc., etc. You understand the term. Now, Ishvara Arpanam. This Ishvara is Bhagavan. He is everything. The more I have this connection within, the more you find it easier that utpatti of that bhav is there. If you remove Ishwar completely, just from one person, take it as example, nikal do, pura idea nikal do. What is the opposite of it? Is it 6574? What is the idea that comes to your mind? If there is nothing like this, remove it. Because
भाव ही नहीं होगा, बहुत
भाव नहीं होगा
मैकेनिकल
तो
होगा, monotonous.
Correct. Excellent. One more point. It will be mechanical. Firstly, you will not connect to the bhav at all. होगा ही नहीं. Because, when does bhav come? I always give this example. I find it very fascinating. For mothers and fathers, parents, the minute you have a child in your hand, the minute you give birth to a child, you know you have conceived a child, and the minute you give birth to the child, before that, one moment before the child was in your arms, that moment, and one moment later when the child is in your arms, is there a difference in bhav? What is the difference? Where did the bhav come from? It came, as if it was hidden inside, as if it was latent inside. And so many people say, no, it's changed me completely for good or for bad. Not so many would say, but either way, it's not necessarily a good experience for. So it changed. But my question is, a bhav emerged because there is a recognition of the child being yours. There is mamatvam, all that is besides the point. The question here is only that bhav came from understanding, from acknowledgement. When there was acknowledgement that this is my child, the one who has a lot of acknowledgement has a lot of bhav, has a lot of mamatvam. जो वैसे ही mechanical, they don't have so much of affection for their child. This bhav emergence. Karma Yoga says, if you don't have this bhav, the opposite of it is Either you will be mechanical person, passive person, or there is only the feeling that I am the doer. That ahankar grows a lot. Ahankar is what keeps on growing. I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. To clip that away, Ishvara Arpanam. What is this Ishvara Arpanam? So we saw those, say, Samarpayami, etc. This is taking into account that for the one who has absolute, जब बुद्धि में विकास नहीं है, all this knowledge is विकास of बुद्धि. जब बुद्धि में इतना विकास नहीं है, and yet you need to protect individual. A mechanical action in the name of Ishvara also will protect without them knowing. So when that is done mechanically initially, for those who don't, we have all got knowledge, we have educated, so it's easy for us to identify it. For those who absolutely do not have any connection, how to initiate them? Vedas have started from there. If your mind dwells on the topic of Adrishtam, divine, in some way it has to connect you to it. So comes all that every day, dheere, 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 your mind starts to have the development of some acceptance first. Once this acceptance forms, then starts the process of education. So, Ishvara Arpanam. Second aspect was Nechaya Kritam. An action, na ichha, Nechaya. Karma by itself does not bind a person, does not tie down a person. Na ichha, I want to ask a question here. Is it possible to work without ichha? Is it possible to generate without any ichha? So what we saw in verse 2, how does karma bind us? It's not karma that binds us. It is the ichha that binds us. Ichha to do and ichha to enjoy. These are broad outlines. Ichha to do and ichha to enjoy. It is the ichha that binds us. And what does it bind us to, tie us up to? Just remember this example again, this whole thing. That ichha came actually from the feeling of incompleteness, emptiness. I'm not whole. I'm not Poonam. Kuch kami hai. I feel a sense of want. I feel a sense of vacuum. I feel empty. I feel my life has no agenda, purpose. I feel lost. I feel without a direction. I feel futile. Whatever I do is futile. I feel everything's a waste. I feel I must do something. If I don't do, blah, 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 earth will collapse. My home will collapse. Something will happen. That feeling, nagging feeling inside is bringing it up of various nature. Actually speaking, which is that what binds us? Every ichha does not bind us. And this is where specific application of Karam Yoga comes. Karam Yoga is also called Buddhi Yoga. You have to learn to discern, identify which ichha is tying me, binds me, and which ichha does not tie me. What does it tie to? इच्छा कैसे बांधती है हमको? सबसे पहले तो बांधती है इस void के feeling से. It's connected to me. Plus, exactly, it binds me to karma itself. Because I will not keep quiet. So it binds me to remaining a karta. And because it binds me to remaining a karta, it binds me to phal. क्योंकि मुझे चाहिए ना वो, तो ही तो I will be happy. So the cycle it perpetuates is samsara. Karma by itself, I said, is not the seed of samsara. It is this ichha that I have for phal, for which I do my karma. Ichha janit, phal ki ichha janit, phalecha. I want that phal. उसकी इच्छा से मैंने जो कर्म किया, that is bringing me to a sense of karta, deha buddhi. Because I will be identifying with my organs of action. I need my means, I need my hands and feet and speech and everything. And I need to acquire the world and means of action to do some action. So, though every ichha has the same cycle, can you now complete this? Which ichha will it be that will not bind? Excuse me.
One you devote to God, to Bhagwan, अर्पित कर देना.
Okay.
One where you
और
don't
ये
have the desire for phal.
Absolutely. Starting point. The way you will be able to see that it doesn't bind is you can break this cycle because phal has anyway gone into Ishvara's hand. Am I making some sense? No. Phal has anyway been into Ishwar as the Lord, no? मेरे हाथ में तो है ही नहीं फल, तो मैंने क्यों पकड़ के रखा है? So I can let that go. So when I let that attachment to my phal go, drop, to that an extent, I am now not tied up. Plus the karma which will not increase my kartritvam. How will it not increase my kartritvam? Which I am able to offer to Ishvara for the sake of. Now when we say, supposing you replace Ishvara with higher ideal, a lot of Vedanta in the world you will say, because Ishvara is a kind of a dying concept in the world. Ishvara, it's either replacing with God, or God is also a dying concept. Ishvara is certainly, So if it's a dying concept, people trying to sustain it have replaced it with higher ideals. You have a higher ideal. If you dedicate yourself for a higher ideal, you are being a karma yogi. A higher ideal is social service. Forget that. A patriotic has a higher ideal. He's highly patriotic. He will die for his nation. Is a patriotic dying for your nation, higher ideal, not his own self. To the extent it is not centered on him, whatever you work for works back for you. If you sustain nationalism, nation protects you. If you work for your family, family protects you. Work for dharma, dharma protects you. You work for Ishvara, same principle. Ishvara protects you. But work for Ishvara, that is a very identifiable, means it's a very subjective growth. It's to be developed. Why is Vedanta and Veda a adhyanam? It's an education. It gives maturity. Because you won't find it by default in you. What is by default in us? This cycle is by default. It's programmed in us. What is the programming? जो मुझे अच्छा लगता है मेरे अपने आप होने लगता है वो. जो मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता अपने आप I avoid it. क्या मुझे मेहनत करनी पड़ती है उसके लिए? What I don't like, I don't engage myself in. Do I have to put effort for it? No, I have to put effort that if I don't like it and it is still good for me, I should do it. All this will be effort provided I can see that what I don't like, I'll have to discern is still good for me. So when you see that whole cycle, Nichaya kritam. Because when we say it to people, suddenly, there's a kind of a vacuum of a new nature. कि इच्छा के बिना कर्म कैसे होता है? तो फिर जब पहले ईश्वर अर्पण कैसे होता है, फिर इच्छा के बिना कर्म कैसे होता है? So by then, obviously, few months and years have gone. I am still not understood कि कैसे होता है. So I'm trying to cover the whole thing, so that even if it's like, why go till Gita to understand this is Karam Yoga? And this is what is said as Karam Yoga in the entire Gita or everywhere else. These two aspects are fundamental. That I am detaching myself from the phal, icha, and whatever comes to me, I have to accept it as prasad. Samatva buddhi rakhte hue, after my best effort, what has come to me, I cannot know it is in my good interest or not. That not knowing factor has to be kept in mind. And there the cycle is, whichever to discern what desire binds me and what desire does not bind me. How it binds me, I think we are all clear in this cycle. It keeps us perpetual. And the second verse of this book, Patana Karanam, we did that in extents. Nechaya krita. How is that possible? इच्छा ना रखते हुए कर्म कैसा है? फल की इच्छा ना रखते हुए कर्म पॉसिबल है, isn't it? फल की इच्छा ना रखते हुए कर्म पॉसिबल है. इच्छा के बिना कर्म पॉसिबल है. If I have no desire at all, how will I act? So, ichha itself can be very binding. Supposing I have a ichha for phal, that aspect will be binding. It will tie down in the cycle. But my karam can continue, and that karma which continues is now dedicated to Ishvara. It's a kind of उनके लिए. आप कभी कुछ करते हो, किसके लिए कर रहे हो? If you ask in Hindi, this is more communicable, clearly communicable. If you're doing something for your parents, what is your ichha there for yourself? Your ichha is only to do for your parent. That ichha that is only to do for your parent, in this example, compared to that you are doing because you want something from your parent, which is binding?
Second one.
When you want something from your parent. When you want something back from your parent, now what has happened to the mind? And what will happen to the environment?
Your action will
That
not
is
be
some-
pure.
There will be chaos outside because there's impurity inside. That you want, right or wrong ki baat nahi hai. There is no right or wrong. Everything is right here. The thing is, which is going to lead me in which direction? If I choose this, where do I go? If I choose this, where do I go? If I choose an action completely for the sake of my fulfillment, for my sake alone, it takes me to a perpetuation of a cycle where samsara remains. My apurnata remains. My incompleteness sense grows. My khalipan grows. It's not filling up. As time goes, I'm more and more empty from inside. This nechaya kritam. What is to be discerned is which desire is for the sake of, which desire, if I act upon, will generate me another cycle of samsara, and which desire frees me from samsara. Whichever will reduce my sense of karta bhokta buddhi, they will be non-binding. Like, for example, I have a desire to experience the morning dawn. I have a desire to experience dawn. It's a desire. Is this desire binding or non-binding? By itself?
It's not
Deepti, I
binding.
think it is not binding because you want to experience dawn, which you have not created. So when you experience dawn, dawn is being created by the higher force, and therefore you are acknowledging the higher force. So therefore, that action should not be, that desire should not be binding.
But is it not that
Right.
I am enjoying the dawn
बट मैं
maybe
फल
because
की
I
इच्छा
feel
तो रख रही
relaxed?
हूँ ना, फल की इच्छा तो मैं रख रही हूँ ना कि मुझे डॉन देखना है.
Nahi. That's exactly my point here. That means we need to redo this. इच्छा एंड फल, यहाँ पे कौन सा फल आपको बांधेगा और कौन सा फल आपको फ्री करेगा? The question is that. Supposing I enjoy, my taste buds are so developed that I enjoy eating anything and drinking specific that I should not be. I enjoy this desire. Firstly, is it right or wrong? Which standpoint will you say it's right or wrong? There has to be a standpoint for it to be called right or wrong.
Health?
Am I making? Okay. If you take it from the health standpoint, now will you say it is right or wrong?
It's wrong.
If that desire is good for you or not good for you, from the standpoint of health, you can know. If I just drink, that desire is going to propel me. It's making me a bhokta. It's going to propel me downward, spiral me downward. This desire is a binding desire. Which is a non-binding, it doesn't tie me. Tie word I associate better. It doesn't tie me to my. Now supposing I say I have a desire to get up in the morning and do my meditation, or I have a desire to just see the sunrise and just remember at that point that this whole vast sky that I see up there, 1 minute before when I was sleeping, the sky wasn't there in my sleep. But I woke up and now I'm seeing a sky, and the sky goes beyond what my eyes see. It's a big recognition of something. Now, is this recognition? I'm enjoying that, but is this phala tying me down?
No, it's not.
That's the point. Not only that, at that point of time, what do I decide to do? Say I get up at 4 o'clock. Now, what am I going to do at 4 o'clock? Am I going to drink? Alcohol, I mean. What will I do at 4 o'clock? What you will engage yourself with? What is it conducive for? What will you engage yourself with? Or if this desire can nourish something better in me, can I grow the desire? If it will nourish something better in me? This is how it becomes Buddhi Yoga. You have to discern what desire is binding, what is not binding. There's a huge exposition that comes in Shastra, but then you see learning is also action, padna is also action, ये भी तो इच्छाएं हैं, and then they talk of higher values is also इच्छा. तो इच्छा तो अगर bind करती है, संसार में रखती है, तो say service to people, service to God, service to parents, service to serving, ये भी तो एक इच्छा है. Is this इच्छा, फल है ना उसमें, सर्व कर रहे हो तो कुछ सोच के कर रहे हो. फल को तो आप छोड़ भी सकते हो, मगर इच्छा को तो नहीं छोड़ रहे. But the nature of this ichha is what? Will it ever bring you contrary result? It can't, no? That means this is non-binding. It's non-time. And in time, the nature of this ichha should be such that in time it can help me come to the right understanding. If I don't have it straight away, that is. So, ichha by itself, one needs, let me redo this. One will have, every one of us will have all kinds of ichhas. A jiva, individual, this karta bhokta, who is in this cycle now, calling himself a limited being with a name and a form, has to discern. Starting point is discern. कौन सी इच्छा को मुझे बढ़ावा देना है और कौन सी इच्छा को यहीं पे त्यागना है, मीन्स छोड़ना है, मीन्स बढ़ावा नहीं देना. That capacity to see which desire takes me to the higher point, to the better me, will free me ultimately. That is karma when done without ichha. It has got karma done with a higher ichha, a better attitude. One better attitude I've already developed because I give up the phal ichha. To that an extent it's good. But there are so many ichhas, like I just gave the food and etc. These ichhas mein kitna phal bhogne ka hoga, except for that instant gratification. I discern at the level of the ichha, which ichha has a potential to tie me down tomorrow. And this is like a standard rule. You can apply it in everything.
Aditi ji had a question.
Ji.
So I got the point of discerning which it ties me down and which doesn't. But again, as you said, the itcha of experiencing the dawn, or even something as simple as cooking something for myself that I like to eat, that I enjoy eating. But also with the bhav that it's not tying me down, I'm not dependent on this. I'm just indulging in this once in a while. But how can I still attach this with a higher purpose? Like I'm still doing this for myself only.
How
Something
would
as
you
small
spend your life? Why do I eat?
to survive, but also sometimes to enjoy.
This is how you connect it to higher. In this example, when I'm eating, consuming, it's giving me the force and something in my stomach is digesting and giving me the energy. I'm enjoying, by the way, that's nothing wrong. Food is a sanctioned indulgence. That's okay. As long as it's in limitation. As long I have to be, that is correct point. But why am I eating that food? Just to survive? Then it becomes a mechanical thing. Why do I want to survive?
To grow, like to move towards the higher.
This is how you connect it to higher. So if my connection point is not to the higher, then everybody eats.
But again, like adding on to this, food is again something that still helps you survive. But in general life, we do actions that are not necessary for us, but we enjoy doing them. Again, like experiencing the dawn or reading a book that I like, which might not be adding something to it. It just maybe a storybook. So how do I attach that?
Some of the things which are absolutely legitimate, you don't have to, if you have the time and the leisure and still do not know how to direct, it's okay to have them. But if, supposing I read a storybook, I know no story is without giving something to learn. Am I just reading it for enjoying it? Or is my focus on picking up the in-between lines of learning? What can I learn for myself from this book? Because the same book, both of us will pick up different things, when it's an interesting exercise. If the same book we both read, we will see our underlines are different. And best part will be after 5 years, if we read the same book again, our underlines will be different. So I have shifted the focus. A very interesting. Supposing now Netflix is in every home. You're watching, supposing, some episodes or something like that. Some serial, something, example. Now, what are you studying in that whole thing? If you're just doing it for the sake of enjoyment, TV, forget Netflix, any program. Most of the Indian serials will have that, etc., etc. What is it? It gives some sort of a joy to some people. If you are watching it because you get a joy, this will be samsara. At that point, you don't register, but it's weakening your faculty at some other point. It will slip you to enjoy lesser and lesser things in life in time. Means your point of seeking enjoyment will come down to something very immediate and instant, which is denying you all the other joys. Like, say, supposing if you put discipline in your life, now what happens to you? Get a joy, not initially, but later. A disciplined life gives us some certain amount of joy. Now what happens, because you have grown to have a disciplined aspect of life and joy from there, the instant joy is already included in it. I can once in a while enjoy any serial. But if I go on doing this, I cannot come, I'll have to work that much more harder to bring myself back to the point of discipline. The principle is to be discerned, and it is subjectively applicable, situationally applicable, capacity applicable. There's so many other factors that will come into it. The idea is, principle is, whatever I can connect to the higher. And why higher? Ishvara is the highest. So whatever, say, supposing, like we said in the last class, when you serve your parents, parent is higher. Will this become complete in itself? No. To the extent you do for yourself, to that an extent it is complete. But to the extent it is for Ishvara, to that an extent it is still incomplete. So higher point, and nobody, it's not that you have reached Ishvara straight away. So maybe in between step was parents for me. And then I pick up, etc. So the fact is, what you have picked up is the point to be worked on, because it's not easy to discern our own desires, because they go into multiple layers and they change over time also. As a child, what desire I may have is not a desire I may have at another point of time. So desire by itself, entirely no. Whatever desire is certainly going to lead me in a direction of binding, making me a weaker person, a dependent person, instant. As we move further, you will see why should you do this. Next, third aspect. If it keeps me into a instant mode of reactiveness, all this, there'll be certain associations, certain companies that may give me a lot of joy, but I know I'm not getting my best out. It's not bringing my best out. Is this to be grown in me? So if you delve a little on, it's a vast topic, but the principle is nutshell. This is condensed, and it is the essence, I will say. Discern what desires I should nourish. Set the plan of action. Once the plan of action is set, thereby I start acting, focusing entirely on my action, not allowing that mind to get into instant pleasure, or it's okay once in a while doesn't matter, but I have to be careful that it remains once in a while. What is the nature of weeds? Anybody has, or everybody would have it, such as common example. Weed is, what is the nature of weed? Weeds that grow in the garden.
They continue to grow if you don't watch them or you don't pluck them out on time.
When is the least effort?
When they've just started growing.
When they have just started. If you miss out on the first 2 weeds, 3 weeds, tak theek hai. Your garden is primed, but then you see weeds are always growing. If you just let them grow, 2, 3 have grown, it's okay. भी तो है, 2-3 ही तो है weeds. Is that the nature of weed to remain 2-3?
They will continue to
Very
grow in
soon
numbers.
you see.
Multiply.
And now how much effort will you need to clean it? This is mind and इच्छास जिनको हमें नहीं entertain करनी, वो 2-3 तो आती ही हैं, आएंगी. So everybody will have all kinds of इच्छास. As long as you're a jiva, you're a human being, you will have ichha for unwanted things. In fact, to many people, the more it is not achievable, it has more desire for it then. That is the specific points. But idea is you will have to remain alert all the time to say, 2-3 kabhi badhe na. And that is very easy once life is dedicated on. Once you decide that, yes, whatever best I can, whatever I can't, I don't have to worry. It's not perfection here. The beautiful part about application of Vedic knowledge is it's not seeking perfect formula. To the extent you've done it, to that extent, you're already on the right. You've already reaped the fruits of the right. So I don't have to sit and say, okay, when I have discerned everything, etc. I hope you get the point, what I'm trying to say, everybody. Yeah. So it's not that it is absolute perfect, कि मैं discern करके I will be able to know. Once in a while, if I'm indulging, if I'm enjoying, it's okay. It has to be there. I'm a part of the society at this point of time. But inward, you will have to be careful. Yes, Siddharth?
Yes. So again, like coming to the point when, for example, you're talking about stories and how stories also have something to learn, or even say like watching a Netflix show and it having something to learn. Would it be right to say that the show might not always have something to learn, but if my attitude is there for the higher purpose, and even if the show doesn't give me anything, but I was sort of looking for something, would that be
Absolutely.
fine?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. In fact, that is the right thing. As long as my outlook is to look for it, till I see it, how do I know whether it has it or not? But if I have fixed my outlook, then I know that for next time, there'll be 2 things. What are going to be the 2 things? If my outlook is fixed and I saw, say, a serial which I enjoyed, now what are the next things that are happening? 2 things that will happen in the next choice.
Either I found something or I didn't. Now next time I make my decision based on if I did find something, I can watch it again. If I did not, then I might have to drop it.
Or if I've enjoyed it, next time I'll have to fight a temptation.
All right.
Because there will be, why are they so popular? Because there are bound to be senses. Remember, if you remember any part of Tattva Bodha, senses have in them the capacity to excite us. Like, that's why it's like the more there is this exciting thing outside, the more our minds seem to be enjoying it, and senses have it in their nature. So all this that you see on the artificial media is what? It's triggering to the senses. It's not that it's giving happiness. It's the activation of the senses. And that activation of the senses we are associating with something we are getting or not getting. Which is nothing wrong with it. But principally, at least you understand what it is. So next time I'll have that extra, it is bound to give me some enjoyment. So next time I have that much extra also. Little clearer? Nechaya kritam, time's up. Now, if this is the principle, Ishvara Arpanam, for an action done without icha, karma. Now, this gets clearer in understanding always. Whenever we try and live it in our life now, they may bring aspects of confusion, but if you replace the word karma with Vaidika karma, puja, the clarity comes and then you can see it here again. What is it in Arpanam? Ishwar Arpanam, whatever puja you do, usme who's the receiver of that action? All those supposing steps you did took you 40 minutes in the morning. किसको आपने अर्पण किया था वो कर्मा? Supposing it's Vishnu Sahasranama. It's Vishnu. Now where is I in it? That idea, if I know, I can replace it in life then. But I will always understand that whatever I replace, that will always be less than that Ishwar. Now, if an action is done like this, then what is its chitta shodhakam? Ishwar arpanam and निश्चयाकृतम, इससे क्या हो रहा है? चित्त शुद्धि हो रही है. So there is a sambandha, a cause and effect as if. What is chitta shuddhi? We will see tomorrow. So, but today I would say this, if there's any clarification sought, we take it up tomorrow, because this is an important aspect and it's a fundamental to growth, to freedom, inner relaxation. The more one has aligned one's karma to yoga, the more one develops, माने भाव की उत्पत्ति हो रही है, the more one finds inner freedom and leisure. How did that inner freedom and leisure come? Chitta Shuddhi. Starting. That Chitta Shuddhi we'll see tomorrow. So,
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां फलं भवतु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम्, न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषा, गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम्, लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति।
Any question at the moment?
So it's a question from the older class. You had discussed the Bhagavad Gita verse from chapter 18, where Krishna was talking about the doer. So I'm a little confused with, in that verse, the doer is me or the Jeev, and Devam is Ishvara. Is that's
Yes.
And when Ramana is talking, of course, he is saying doer as Ishvara because he is the one who's giving the phal.
Yes. Correct.
So, but when we are talking about any action, then Jeev is the doer.
And
And
whenever we say bolo.
So when I'm doing the action, Jeev is the doer of the action, but Ishvara is the doer in terms of giving the phal.
Correct. The idea, this is a very deeply linked idea, second part of the book you'll see in Vedanta. This doer idea that I have is the very seed of ignorance. Comes from the seed of ignorance.
Right.
That needs self-correction.
And when eventually when we can see myself as Atma, then I am not, that the Jeev would dissolve.
Absolutely. And Atma is Akarta. So remember the whole portion of Mithya?
Yeah.
So doer is a Mithya.
Yeah.
I am a doer notion is a Mithya. So while I'm experiencing it, it actually is not real. And yet we continue to abide in it as a sense of reality. So slowly, the spiritual growth in us happens is we are able to remove that reality sense from it. I can continue doing actions because they have to be done. But I can have a correction of my attitude of the doer in it. Good, very good.
It seems maybe
Everyone.
it probably is because we don't have faith. That's why we think that I have free will, so let me do what I think will be best for me. ऐसा हम सोचकर कुछ करने की कोशिश करते हैं, but because we don't have faith in Ishvara and we don't have faith in the process and we think ourselves to be different and therefore we say हमारे पास free will है तो हम जो करना चाहते हैं वो हम कर सकते हैं, हम अपने आप के लिए better कर सकते हैं शायद. And it's only when we realize that हम तो अकर्ता है, हम कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते, and whatever Prakriti has to do will happen, so I'm just a nimit. And only when you realize is when you start doing that, means like you that action will still happen, but you will not attribute yourself as the karta.
Correct. That nimit vision in it, in your action, is the purified action. But your vision of yourself is still that individual.
Okay.
And actually,
so though you have
I've
improved
seen-
your action a lot, your ignorance is still intact.
And actually, I've seen DPG whenever you introduce Devam to anything, right? The whole focus changes. I mean, now I
Absolutely.
understood that why people used to, so they pray before eating, right? Now I know why they do it. Because It is, I think the whole focus changes when you put
Yes.
his name or
In
you
fact,
remember him.
the whole religious life, when you don't have knowledge, the entire religious life is a preparation for it
Mm.
and keeps your jivatvam in control. Without it, it's almost impossible to really free yourself from the, tackling thoughts that every jiva entertains about himself and the world. They are shackles. They are iron shackles in the mind. आसान नहीं है इनको, unless and you latch on to something whose nature should be freeing you. It should have the capacity to free. So it doesn't work as a cause and effect in that sense, but it works as a principle of imposition. What you associate with, remember the crystal example, blue lotus and crystal. In the presence of the lotus, even the lotus becomes, clear lotus also becomes blue.
Yeah. Yes.
तो अगर आपका थॉट माइंड आपका किस ऑब्जेक्ट के साथ जुड़ा है, किस विषय में लगा है, किस विषय को लेके विचार रहा है, एंटरटेन कर रहा है, that determines whether your mind is getting more bound or is it freeing itself. Are you freeing yourself or is the mind binding you? So tomorrow when we do a little more about Chitta Shuddhi, we'll revise and that move, and hopefully the whole picture will get clear. So thank you. Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Dipti ji. Hari Om.
Thank you, Deepti ji.
Thank you.